Real quick video this time. I'm going to do a quick tutorial and a comparison between SyncTerm and CGTerm. I've posted videos before on how to connect to Commodore 64 or 128 BBSes, bulletin board services, with using WinVice and various other connectivity proxies. This time we're going to be doing it specifically with CGTerm. I'm going to show you how to get it to work in 80 column mode so that you can see 80 column boards that might actually support 80 column graphics, and why you want to use that over SyncTerm. SyncTerm is a really good program, except I use it mostly for ANSI BBSs and not Commodore BBSs. Now, if you've used CGTerm before, sometimes it doesn't always, if you set the configuration file, sometimes you notice that it just still never looks right. And one of the other things that I don't like about it is you can't scale it on the fly. So it's going to be this small on your screen when it should be taking up this much space. So, and for old people like me, you know, you can't squint and look at graphics on that thing. So what we're going to do is just jump right into it. I'm going to share my screen here, and this is where you're going to start. Go ahead and venture on forth to csdb.dk. This is the Commodore Seniors database, basically. It's where you get pretty much all new releases, and sometimes we get lucky and find some PC utilities on there. So they've even got a Windows 10 fix. Part of what this does is sometimes when you minimize it or you Alt-Tab to a different program and then come back to CGTerm, you won't be able to type in it. You have to minimize it and then maximize it again in order to be able to type in it. This little DLL file fixes that. But just go ahead and download it. They have if you have a Mac for whatever reason, they have a Mac version here as well. Right. So once you get it downloaded and extracted into the folder, I'm going to show you how to make this little shortcut right here. Notice when you click on CGTerm, you're just going to come up, and sometimes it may be in 80 column mode depending on where you downloaded it from. Some people have already configured the config file for that, but either way, it's going to be small, and you can't scale it, you can't drag it. Maximizing it doesn't do anything. You pretty much have to full screen it in order to get any visual real estate out of it. So in the folder, you're going to see a file called cgterm.config. Right click and open with editor of your choice. I use Notepad++. All right, so what I've done here, I've set the zoom, but in the config file, zoom doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't work. It's not useful at all. So what you'll want to do is create a shortcut to the application and then modify that shortcut. It does support the full screen directive and the columns directive. That's fine, but we're going to override that anyway in the shortcut that we make. The things that you might want to go ahead and change are your downloads directory, where you want your uploads and downloads to go, and any phone book entries or bookmarks. So we're going to go ahead and make a bookmark for one of my boards. Bookmark equals 8 playground, if I could type, comma, space, and then the address, 8bit.com, comma, space, and then the port. Save that file. There we go. You hit escape and then go to B for bookmarks. Then you'll have your bookmarks that you created. But it still didn't fix the size. So what you want to do, I'm going to go ahead and delete that and start a new one. Copy the main executable. Oops, wrong one. Copy the main executable, cgterm.exe. Copy, and right click, paste shortcut. Call it whatever you want. CGTerm, a columns, and then go to properties of the shortcut that you created. Okay, go to the end on the target line, hit space, hyphen, space, or hyphen Z, space, and then the zoom factor. So in my case, I want to zoom it 4 times because I'm old. All right, and then you're going to space -8 to tell it to go into 80 columns. Hit OK, and now when we launch this shortcut, we have a more visible real estate. It's still got our other settings. It's got our BBSs in it. So now let's, I'm going to switch to a more overlay screen. There we go. Let's go ahead and call a board that has 80 column content. So we're going to connect to 8-bit Playground. And we're going to select 80 columns. And then if the BBS has it, you'll see the 80 column intro screens or 80 column content or 80 column menus, if you will. Not everybody has them. Mostly boards that run on Commodore 128 software. I know Centipede 128 does. People who actually bother to make their 80 column content will show up here. You know, stuff like that. So I just jump off that. So by that same virtue, the reason that we don't really like to run CGTerm is because the reverse characters just don't show up right. So we'll launch CGTerm or SyncTerm, excuse me. And SyncTerm is really good for calling ANSI boards or PC-based boards. I mean, looks really nice. It's quick. It's got a good phone book. It's got all of the protocols that you would want. And it's very fast, very clean and crisp. So it's a good terminal for that. Not necessarily for Commodore 64 based boards. So we'll try to call a Commodore board, and I'll show you kind of what it looks like. It's just we'll call the same one. We'll go 8-bit Playground. Now, in order to be able to even do Commodore-based boards in SyncTerm, go to your entry or create a new entry. Press F2 to edit it. First thing you want to do is set the screen mode. So if you're calling a Commodore board in 40 column mode or 80 column mode, go ahead and set that screen mode. And then you have to come down. It's kind of hidden. Go down to the bottom and then select the font, whether it's C64 font, which is 40 columns per, or 40 characters per width, or 80 characters for 128. So we're going to say we're going to take the Commodore 128 upper lowercase characters. That'll give us our 80 column display there. So when we call it though, same as before, looks pretty much normal like CGTerm, but if you'll notice, whenever there's a reverse graphics or reverse character, it doesn't always shut off all the way. So if you'll notice, this line right here has carried over to the empty field here, and you're not supposed to get reverse characters again until you hit the word system. And likewise here, this color carries over to that line, this color carries over to that line. So it's not clean, it's not crisp. I actually haven't looked at the screen on SyncTerm, but I imagine it's probably going to look kind of weird too. The colors are going to be off, if I'm guessing. Yeah, because the girl's hair is supposed to be purple, or shirts, the swing base is supposed to be brown, the grass is supposed to be green, so it just doesn't look that, not how the sysop or the BBS or content creator had intended. So that's why I don't like to use SyncTerm for Commodore boards. But CGTerm is always so problematic if you don't create the shortcuts correctly. So now we've learned how to create the shortcut, and you can pretty much set your phone book entries or shortcuts by editing the CGTerm config file with editor of your choice, and then put your address entries right there in the phone book, or with the phone book directive. That's pretty much it. So take it for what it's worth. Hope this makes it a little bit easier for you. I know CGTerm can be a little problematic at times. Just remember that the zoom factor on the config file doesn't work, doesn't do anything. So that's why we use the shortcut method. So if you can think of other tutorial videos you'd like to see, please feel free to comment. But I don't like telling people what to do, so I don't care if you like or comment. How you like that? How you like that shit? Go f your mother. She's a nice lady. She owes me a quarter.